Welcome to ECCB Connects. In this episode, we feature ECCB in action, a snapshot of the ECCB's work as we strive to keep the EC dollar strong, ensure our financial system remains stable, and promote the balanced growth and development of our 8 member countries. In this program, we look at the work the ECCB undertook over the period July to September on the following strategic priorities: new ECCU retail bond, harmonized data protection and privacy bill, Caribbean Resilient Renewable Energy Infrastructure Investment Facility, ECCU First Step Savings Account, and cannabis research. Investment opportunities are now within the reach of households across the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union. The Regional Government Securities Market, in collaboration with the ECCB, has launched a new retail bond initiative to make government securities more accessible to everyday citizens across the ECCU. A retail bond is a type of debt security designed for retail or individual investors rather than large institutional investors. It is therefore more affordable and accessible to households than traditional wholesale bond. The ECCU Retail Bond Initiative reflects deliberate regional policy towards financial inclusion, that is, moving the people of the ECCU from savers to investors. It also has the potential to mobilize domestic savings for national development. Fiscal and Debt Specialist in the Research, Statistics and Data Analytics Department, Julietta Edinburgh, has more.
Essentially, a retail bond is a debt security, and from the investor standpoint, you can say an investment product that allows individuals to lend money to the issuer, in this case, the government, in return for interest. And at the end of the bond period, you would be repaid your initial investment amount. They are generally issued in small denominations to make them more affordable and accessible to individuals. So it's a bond. The difference is the bond is only available to individual investors.
The features of the ECC Retail Bond Instrument are minimum investment amount of $500 with increments of $100, maximum investment amount $50,000, interest rate 4.25% per annum paid semi-annually, and the tenure is for 2 years. The governments of Grenada and St. Christopher and Nevis are the first to issue an instrument under this new initiative. During the quarter, the ECCB continued to collaborate with member governments to develop the Harmonized Data Protection and Privacy Bill. The bill is being developed under the Caribbean Digital Transformation Project. This initiative seeks to establish a unified legal framework across the ECCU to safeguard personal data and the rights of individuals, promote trust in digital services, and enable secure cross-border digital services.
This new bill will be transformative. And what does this mean for our citizens? It means stronger protection of personal information, greater accountability. Data handlers would be expected to operate at high international standards. And lastly, it brings about trust within the digital services in the ECCU.
Over the review period, the inaugural meeting of stakeholders, which consisted primarily of government departments, convened in early September. The objective of that engagement was to validate findings, solicit feedback, and build consensus on the proposed legislation among member countries.
We have received excellent feedback from our stakeholders, and we are currently in the process of planning the second round of stakeholder engagement. This engagement will target non-government organizations and persons within the private sector across the ECCU. Following that, we will move to in-person country visits where we would address any national concerns and finalize the bill.
A detailed gap analysis of the existing legislative framework was also conducted. That research sought to identify the differences between existing national legal and institutional frameworks and international best practices for data protection, and that was to guide the drafting of a harmonized, effective legislation. The report is available on the ECCB's website. We invite you to review the report and share your feedback. Your input will help ensure that the proposed legislative framework reflects the needs and realities of the ECCU. In July, 3 member countries, Grenada, St. Lucia, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, signed a groundbreaking multi-million-dollar financing agreement with the World Bank under Phase 1 of the Caribbean Resilient Renewable Energy Infrastructure Investment Facility project. The World Bank also executed an agreement with St. Christopher and Nevis for project preparation grant to enable participation in the second phase of the project. The facility aims to scale up private investment in renewable energy by addressing market, institutional, financial, and infrastructure barriers across the Caribbean. It ultimately seeks to advance the scale and pace of resilient energy infrastructure development while lowering energy costs, protecting livelihoods, and promoting job creation and skills enhancement. ECCB's lead on the project, 𝐂𝐸𝐬𝐬𝐿, says dialogue is now taking place to expand the project to the wider Caribbean.
Accelerating the transition to clean, reliable, and affordable clean energy in the Caribbean cannot wait another 2 decades. With that, the Renewable Energy Facility is now preparing for Phase 2 in 2026, with participation being enabled for additional member states. St. Kitts and Nevis and Dominica will benefit from preparatory grants that will support project pipeline development, renewable energy grid assessments, and community and stakeholder engagement, including capacity development. Additionally, we are expanding the regional dialogue to ensure that additional countries can join and participate in the Renewable Energy Facility, ensuring that the region is ready for the green transition.
The importance and scope of the Caribbean Resilient Renewable Energy Infrastructure Investment Facility project has been recognized internationally. It received the 2025 Best and Most Innovative Financing Award at the 2025 Infrastructure Forum Industry Awards ceremony in September. We now move on to ease of account opening. As part of ongoing efforts to raise awareness about the ECCU First Step Savings Account, the Ease of Account Working Group hosted a town hall meeting in St. Christopher and Nevis in September. The session also sought to increase awareness of the ongoing work of the Ease of Account Working Group and other initiatives the ECCB is undertaking to make financial services and products available to all citizens and residents of the ECCU. The ECCU First Step Savings Account also forms part of the overall financial inclusion and ease of account opening strategy. Deputy Director in the Financial Sector Supervision Department, Levi Burton Mark, outlines the next steps in the ease of account opening roadmap.
You would recognize that there have been a rebranding of the basic bank account from the nomenclature of it being a basic bank account, because there's nothing basic about the account. And so the ECCU First Step account offers our citizens in the ECCU that first stepping stone towards greater financial inclusion and for greater transactional history so they can move along their financial journey. 7 of our member countries currently now offer the ECCU First Step account, which accounts for over 50% of our licensed financial institutions. Now, this is just a first part along our journey. There are a number of milestones that we would have set forth within the roadmap, part of which included the application of simplified due diligence standards, which we would have issued in March of 2025. In June of 2025, we would have also conducted training for our financial institutions on the conduct of institutional risk assessments. Now, why is this important? It is important because we want to ensure that there is consistency and a clear understanding on how financial institutions can go about identifying scenarios of low risk towards the application of simplified measures. Further, it augments the application of a risk-based approach by our financial institutions and ensure that there is harmonization across our member jurisdictions on how our entities are approaching this. Now, this training will take place in a phased approach. The first one, which took place in June of 2025, looked at the theoretical nature or overview of institutional risk assessments. We are moving forward with the drafting of standards for our financial institutions on those conduct of institutional risk assessments.
The ECCB is working with various stakeholders to conduct research and build capacity to influence discussions, strategy development, knowledge acquisition, and policy guidance on the sustainable development of the region's cannabis industry. In July, the bank presented the first draft strategy framework at the Cannabis Conference in the Commonwealth of Dominica. During the quarter, the ECCB also conducted several capacity-building workshops. Project Specialist Sybil Welsh has more.
We have leveraged the expertise of our local and regional scientists. And so we started with Dr. Guido Marcel out of Grenada. He's a herbalist, a scientist, an agriculturist, and a natural farmer. So he focuses on one of the critical components of the cannabis industry, which is how do we ensure that we're protecting our soil. And that is important because our soil becomes the bedrock for whatever comes out of the soil. We focused on how do we look at developing the cannabis industry within the standards for developing medicinal and health and wellness cannabis. That is important because if you're looking at the issue of pharmaceuticals, then that has a threshold of care and of standards that is at the highest level. We also wanted to focus on, if you're developing an industry, then the second workshop has to look at what is the driving force behind any industry, what are the inputs? And that has to be the soil and the seed. And so how do you build a robust cannabis industry if we are not looking at how do we become self-sufficient in the basic starter of the industry? Where are the seeds coming from? How do we create a seed bank in the region so that you're not dependent, and the region will not be dependent, the countries will not be dependent on having to import seeds?
The cannabis industry in small island developing states presents a unique opportunity for socio-economic development, growth, and empowerment of indigenous communities. Medicinal cannabis is legal in 5 of the 8 ECCB member countries. We've come to the end of another episode of ECCB Connects. In this program, we brought you ECCB in Action, a quarterly update on the ECCB's work in pursuit of its 2025 strategic objectives. We provided an update on the new ECCU retail bond, development of the Harmonized Data Protection and Privacy Bill, Caribbean Resilient Renewable Energy Infrastructure Investment Facility, ECCU First Step Savings Account, and cannabis research. Thanks for watching. We invite you to join us next week for another program.